When I'm in awe of nature, I feel a sense of wholeness.
I feel this sense of connectedness.
I experience a sense of oneness with all things.
With the nature around me, but also with my friends when I'm out here.
I experience a reduced sense of self because there's a certain point where the place overtakes me.
The time definitely does slow down when you're out here.
Coming out here makes me feel like there is something outside of us.
A sense that you are not fully in charge and that that is 100% okay.
It's very, very humbling.
I know sometimes we're all caught up in our own lives. One day you're gonna hit a wall and you're gonna try to find answers, and I think the answer's out here.
There's nothing in the world like this. Just the things that you can do, the things that you can experience, the things that you can see. The blue sky, the green of the trees, the blue water, and how clear the water is too. It's not just that it's blue water, it feels crystal clear when you're looking into it. Wow. This is why we're here. There are lots of ways to think about awe, and all of them might be true. We think of it as scientists as seeing something or experiencing something that's so powerful, so complex, so vast, that it transcends your understanding of the world. So you might say that awe is the prototypical human experience that connects you to things outside of and bigger than yourself. I'm a social psychologist, so I'm really interested in human social relationships. When I started graduate school, I remember my advisor at the time asking me what I wanted to study, and I said I wanted to study awe, and he said, good luck. No one was really working in that space because, in part, we hadn't really figured out how to study it. How do you take something as powerful, as subjective, as emotional as this, and stick it in a test tube so you can tinker with it in a lab? Now we've got ways to study awe. We've got ways to measure it, and we've figured some things out. If you want to understand awe, you've got to come to places where people are experiencing it. And the opportunity to study that here, where people are having not just powerful awe experiences, but in sustained ways, is, I think, a really interesting idea. I feel like there's no place like this in the world.
Evolutionarily, we are social animals. People are this incredible source of value to us, incredible source of well-being. Our evolutionary niches as these small groups hanging out together. And when you disrupt that, it's really disruptive to people.
We are seeing a meteoric rise in technology use, the amount of time individuals are spending on our devices. We are seeing a rise in mental health challenges, a loneliness epidemic, anxiety rates, depression rates, physical health, life expectancy going down in the United States.
Nobody can agree on basic facts, and people distrust each other. It's hard to negotiate, it's hard to compromise. This constant battle between trying to find connection in a world that often wants to forge conflict and separate us apart.
And yet, a lot of the problems and issues that confront us as a collective rest on our ability to get outside of ourselves and to think about things in more kind of we-centric ways. You might say that awe is a big part of that.
It's a forgotten emotion. Like you have Ekman's basic emotions, awe is kind of forgotten about. Doesn't have any literature on people perceiving it. And maybe in a secularizing society where we've kind of distanced ourselves from routine experiences of awe, we feel that it's more of this special, more foreign kind of thing.
But you've got to go
yeah, you gotta like do a big, yeah, it's a big thing. I think if you take an intro psych class and then you see all these amazing, shocking studies in the history of psychology, like the Milgram studies, the Stanford prison experiment, I think Paul's very connected to this kind of appeal. You know, he's very creative in that way. Obviously a very prolific and influential researcher and a great communicator and great teacher. The thing I admire about him is his ingenuity.
We brought in more than 100 pairs of strangers into the lab, and with the flip of a coin, randomly assigned one of the two to be a rich player in a rigged game. And over the course of 15 minutes, we watched through hidden cameras what happened.
It was always important to him to do something that's big, but also sort of simple in its message. Big ideas, fun ideas, that's sort of relatable for everyone.
One of the first studies that I did, with the flip of a coin, we randomly assigned people to either spend just 60 seconds looking up at these awe-inspiring big trees or looking up at a way less awe-inspiring big building. Our experimenter walked up to our participant in the study, and in the process of doing that, they accidentally tripped over themselves and dropped some pens on the ground. And people who had spent, again, just 60 seconds looking up at those tall trees took more time out of their day to bend down and pick those pens up to help this other person out. If 60 seconds of an awe experience or of an awe-tinged experience can have that kind of effect, then what about a day's worth or a week's worth? What kind of impact might that have? Not just in the moment, but once you leave. Awe and experiences in nature are pivotal to the human experience. They matter for people's well-being. They matter for people's social relationships.
Yeah.
And here, we're really trying to map out the ways in which experiences of awe and experiences in nature help people solve essential problems in their lives.
Paul, I think, does have a mission. He seems to be driven by this very positive view of human nature, that you can produce connected people, that you can get people to engage in pro-social behavior. And it's inspiring to watch him do his work and use all of his talents in the service of realizing those values and that mission that he has.
Thanks, everyone. This is our first meeting as a group with all the different members of the team. And without further ado, Matt, take it away.
So there's some things about the opportunity we have here that you can't otherwise capitalize on if we didn't have this opportunity. So one is that we have obviously access to awe-inspiring nature. We have this opportunity for naturalistic observation, which is really not common too much in psychology. We do a lot of online studies now, we do a lot of in-lab studies, and so we can see people doing impactful experiences in real life. People go into Lake Tahoe and they're not going alone. And so we have this opportunity to be social psychologists and capture social experiences. So one question is, how do peak experiences in nature shape the way people think about and make decisions regarding environmental issues? How do peak experiences in nature bring people together? And how do we interpret other people's capacity to experience awe?
No one's ever done anything like this, to my knowledge. Like, no one's ever gone and tried to understand in real time, what are people's experiences in nature? How are those experiences rippling out across the people that you're having those experiences with while you're out in nature? How does an experience of awe rebound across a family? Do you take those experiences home with you? Do you share them with others? These are the kinds of questions we're trying to get some traction on. And to do that, you need a team of people, you need a team of experts, you need gear, you need ideas, you need research questions, you need a plan. And when we get there, we're gonna have to be able to change those plans and iterate. So we've got an agile group of talent, some really smart people who are asking some really interesting and unique questions.
What do you see as the connection between awe and eco-spirituality?
The emotional basis of these experiences is probably mostly awe. And then there's some ingredient, maybe an appraisal of nature, an appraisal of the kind of experience you're having in the context of that experience that makes it a spiritual experience. Nature makes people feel small because you can't totally understand in its complexity. This is kind of the symbolic energy of religious concepts. Like, the concept of God is just like too complex and vast that people feel in awe of it, right? So nature has a lot of these qualities. So nature extends deep into time. It's there way before we were, and it will be there after us.
No Worries Amigo was founded 8 years ago. Our goal and our mission is to get as many people as we can out on the trail feeling good and experiencing nature, a community where we feel cared and connected. Hike more, worry less, feel good.
I'm an Air Force veteran. I did security forces. It was rated 3rd highest suicide and divorce rate. They're constantly telling you like, hey, if something goes wrong, it's gonna go wrong because you got blown up. Running off like 3 hours of sleep constantly back to back to back. So that just compounded over time. I'll suffer from anxiety attacks where I'll like break down, I'll get nervous. But here I don't even know what the word is. Like definitely a sense of awe where it's almost like the opposite of an anxiety attack. Like I feel all this stress just being released from me. The problems I have day to day that builds up my anxiety, it feels smaller in comparison, and I have like a sense of being connected to not just myself, but the people around me, where I feel more energetic to keep moving forward and being part of something not just bigger for myself in my life, but how it connects to other people. My mom, she would take us out when we were kids to Yosemite, and she got in a rut where she was just working, and I slowly started joining this group myself. She also has anxiety like me. She started coming out and she loved it. We connect on memories we can look back at and remember, and then we also form a bigger sense of community. I'm playing a positive role to this person that I love, this person that's given a lot to me. It's just really hard to put into words, but it's a great feeling for sure.
Ollie was sick all week, so yesterday was his first day going to school, and he surprised me with this piece, which he decorated himself, and he may have even stuck the tape on this. I don't really know, but there he is, man, in perfect Ollie form, you know? Ollie, do you remember what's in the beak? You see what's in the beak?
A worm.
It's a worm, and it's depositing the worm inside the nest. What's in the nest? Do you see the nest inside the cactus? Here. It's little baby birds, huh? A lot of Americans think of awe. If you ask them, like, what is awe to you? They'll talk about unique experiences that you've got to spend money on and take time to go out and have. Almost like an extracurricular emotion that most of us don't have time for. Really, awe is just something that you can build into your daily life, and just as important as any other kind of experience that you think is foundational. Ever since I was a kid, one of the ways that I would interact with the world is by picking stuff up. We've got fossils that I've found. These are ammonites that I found on the Jurassic coast. These are fossils of seashells that I found in the Yucatan. This is the first skull that I found of a hyrax in Israel. One of my first experiences of awe, Kenya in Masai Mara with my family, watching wildebeest, a herd of wildebeest out across the landscape. And when we were on safari, my parents allowed us to stop the Jeep and go out. I don't think you'd be able to do this now, but pick up skulls that we found. You never see what's happening underneath the skin unless you interact with the bones that lie beneath them, and it gives you a sense of just how complex and intricate nature is. It just attunes you to a world that's not always visible to you, and that's kind of what a lot of my curiosities in life are about, is finding out things that attune you to levels of detail and levels of complexity about stuff that you don't always see. Maybe we'll go outside and lift up some rocks. You guys want to lift up some rocks? However constrained our backyard is, there's so much that you can explore if you just start to look for opportunities to explore. And so there's some rocks that my kids and I will often turn over just to see what's underneath.
That roly-poly, God, where is that roly-poly?
Yeah, look, this roly-poly's a different color than that one, huh?
To the adult, that might seem like not a big deal, but to a child, peeking at a world that you never or rarely get to look into is super awe-inspiring.
Look at that.
Which one? There.
You could see the kids just get super excited about all the little signs of life that they could spot, wanting to interact with it.
Come on, guys, let's go.
For sure we can find some millipedes and some centipedes back here, huh? We want our kids to feel connected to the world around them. We want them to feel a deep sense of fascination and respect and curiosity for the land, what comes from it, how we feed off of the land, and hopefully in exchange, give things back to it. Ollie, we want to pick whichever ones are soft, okay?
That one is soft.
Which one? That one here. If it feels soft, like these ones feel soft. Those ones.
This one.
That one's nice. These are things that I don't think my wife and I have even necessarily made explicit or talked about. They're just so deeply embedded in the kinds of kids and the kinds of adults that we want to raise. Huh? Who wants to We also need banners, t-shirts. Someone needs to design that.
I can do that.
Just because you're smiling.
Lake Tahoe Peak Experience Lab or something, or Peak Experience Project. Something that sounds attractive, but
I
also
like Peak
legitimate.
Experience Project. We need like branded,
Hot pink. Like barbecue.
I don't know, but something that makes you not look like you've just come off a bus or out of your car and have decided, I'm gonna mess with people.
I got you. I see a vision.
We should have a hat and a t-shirt.
Or dress up like little mushrooms. You know?
that very creative, Paul. Yeah.
He is very well loved by all his students. That he wants to work together with people and have them have a fun time. So I think he's extremely excited to put a team together and to go out to Tahoe of all places, which Paul always said is his favorite place on earth. It's a dream come true in a sense.
You were mentioning that you're excited to go back to Tahoe this summer.
I go there with my parents and my family. So in the winter we go there to ski, and then in the summer jet skiing with my brother or like stand-up paddling with my dad. The water is insanely clear. That's why stand-up paddling is something I 100% recommend. Like, just you can go out and it's like very calm and you can see everything.
Would you call it pure?
Sacred, pure, yeah.
The vision of purity is very interesting, right? Like how we conceptualize it.
Yeah.
Lots of pure, I bet you if you ask people to like depict or represent what is pure to them, it would look a lot like Tahoe water, you know?
I feel like all of this is culturally so new to me. You just don't have like national parks or places like these in India at all.
Do you have a hope for what you've gotten out of it?
Jet skiing. Now that you know there's jet skiing there.
I have never done jet ski, so I feel like all of that's gonna be like, I've never done stand-up paddling.
I think stand-up
Peak experiences.
So
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm super excited. This is just, I think this is the beginning, but it's really exciting, and thanks to each of you.
When I was 15 years old, I started getting bullied at school and online, and I didn't really know what to do about it or who to even talk to because I just felt this shame that people didn't like me. I started developing anxiety and depression and really feeling super alone. And ultimately, I developed suicide ideation. That led me to planning to take my life on December 23rd, 2010. So thankfully, my attempt was interrupted and I was able to be connected to resources and open up conversations with my family. It started my journey to healing. We've always come up to Tahoe and been coming up here since I was little. And I remember actually being here just doing family activities and having all of these things happen, but I didn't have any service. And so then I didn't have access to see social media. Oh, I can breathe for a few days while I'm up here because I'm not dealing with all of the things that are coming through. We get really caught up in our everyday lives, and when you're able to just breathe and touch nature, really disconnect from all the other things, then it helps you feel whole, and I think it brings us back to our roots. As a teenager, I don't know that you always realize the beauty that is around you sometimes because you're just so caught up in your own world. But then you come up here and then you do have that opportunity to think bigger.
I had a friend who committed suicide. When I read his suicide letter, I was so struck. All he wrote about in his letter was about himself, and he couldn't see beyond himself. I did not sleep the night that my wife and I got the call. our 6-month-old baby woke up and started crying for us. And I remember distinctly walking into his room, feeling totally just like so devastated. And here's this kid holding himself up on his bed, looking up at me with no sense of what I was going through. He just needed me. And feeling like, so grateful for this child and the way he's interacting with me and how awesome this kid is and how beautiful this kid is, and being reminded of the bigger things that I'm here for. And yeah, my friend's death is big, but this kid needs me now, and he's so beautiful, and he's so interconnected with me, and my life is so much bigger than just myself, and I need to be better for him and bigger for him. And in that moment, feeling so grateful for that relationship. When we are all we could see, when we loom so large in our own minds that we obliterate our sense of connection to things bigger than ourselves, we've deprived our lives of meaning. We are all longing for ways to feel like we are small parts of things that are much more powerful and meaningful than ourselves. That is what purpose is, feeling connected to things bigger than you. Look, do you guys see the boats? Can you guys see the mountain over there? It's got snow on it. Look at this. That's a goose, and there's a ducky. Okay, let me say goodnight to Vinny Bear. Bubby, love you very much. Ollie, love you very much, huh? Okay, love you guys very much. What an epic day, huh? Like, what an epic spot. The geese know what's up, you know? They know to be here, to see the sunset. It's now been 10 or so months since we first started thinking about and talking about this project. So to be here and to first start thinking about how we're gonna pull it off feels amazing. It also feels kind of daunting, you know? How are we gonna do justice to this place? I also feel really encouraged because I don't think it's gonna be hard to study on a place like this, you know?